let's take a legal deep dive into this case. Attorney Josh Colesrue joins me now. You know, this is so unfortunate in many levels, and it's a scenario that really can happen anywhere, not just Florida, clearly. But in her situation, she was told by many people that she was grandfathered in. Does she stand a chance to still stay there?
You know, unfortunately not. In her case, an oral promise that there's going to be an exception to the 55 plus order just isn't likely going to happen. You know, if you buy a house in an HOA community where it's 55 and over, and somebody promises you that it can be grandfathered to you even though you're not 55 years old, make sure you get it in writing.
Right.
Otherwise, there are sometimes exceptions, like a hardship waiver, where in her case, some HOAs do allow like a granddaughter or a daughter to actually reside in the home after a parent passes away. Now, it's not all over for her, because just because she can't reside there doesn't mean she doesn't own the property. She still owns the property. She can rent it out or she can sell the home. It just restricts who can live there, and they have to be 55 or older.
But even though she's been living there for 6 years, that doesn't matter? Not
as much as people think. If she was living there for 6 years after her father passed away and the HOA didn't do anything, then she actually probably has a fighting chance under what's called the estoppel provisions. However, that isn't the case here. So her father died in 2023, and soon after she received a notice from the HOA telling her that she needed to be evicted from the residence.
Okay, what about here in Arizona? How does that work? Can the HOA force someone out of a home that they inherited?
Yeah, you know, unfortunately they can. But like we just said, you know, inheriting a home is different than owning a home. You know, if you inherit a home, for example, you inherit the good things and the bad things about a home. Like you inherit the mortgage, the leaks, everything that comes with it. So if you inherit a home and you want to own a gas station on the home, you can't just do that because, you know, they're residential property, right? It's the same kind of promises that follow the land. And so when you inherit the property, you get the mortgage, all the good things and the bad things, but it doesn't change the actual structure of the agreements.
So what should people take away from this?
Well, I think that the main thing that this case says is to plan ahead. And, you know, you have to have really important and hard conversations with your parents to really see how the houses are going to pass through a will or an intestate. And, you know, before buying into an HOA community or a 55 and over community, you want to read what's called the CCNRs. And those are the contract that stays with the property, because some of them are pretty lenient, others are not so much. There was a case in Prescott in 2020 where an orphan kid, 15 years old, was actually evicted from his grandparents' house because he didn't meet the age restrictions.
Wow. But really, I mean, bottom line too is HOAs, each and every one is different. I mean, you know, in one situation, they could do something like that where they can kick them out of their home, but in another, maybe they would make an exception, right?
Exactly. That's why you have to read the CCNRs, which is the contracts and the covenants that go along with the property. And they are enforceable compared to oral promises that someone says, hey, you know, this is going to be grandfathered to you, but when weighed against the CCNRs, you're not going to win.
Right, right. It's got to be in black and white.
It does.
All right. Josh, great insight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.